Friends, gather round. Tonight we're diving headfirst into a story so ludicrous, so wildly inappropriate, that you'd swear we plucked it from the dusty pages of a rejected dystopian novel. But alas, this is the reality we inhabit in 2025. Buckle up as we unravel the saga of DOGE, the IRS, and a whole heap of your personal data. Our story begins with the Department of Government Efficiency, affectionately known as DOGE. Because why use boring acronyms when you can evoke images of Shiba Inus wearing berets? DOGE, the brainchild of everyone's favorite Twitter-happy billionaire, has embarked on a quest, a noble crusade if you will, to eliminate waste within the government. And how do they plan to achieve this Herculean feat? By demanding access to the holy grail of personal information, the IRS's taxpayer database. That's right, folks, they want to peek into the financial lives of millions of Americans. Now you might be thinking, surely there's a logical explanation for this, and you'd be right to think that. We all deserve a good chuckle now and then. But hold on to your hats because the justification gets even more bizarre. DOGE claims they need this access to identify and eliminate fraud and abuse. You know, because apparently the IRS, an organization literally built to do just that, needs a helping hand from a department barely old enough to rent a car. But wait, there's more. The White House, in a move that surprises absolutely no one, has thrown their weight behind this harebrained scheme. So, there you have it. The stage is set, the players are in position, and the curtains rise on what can only be described as a privacy disaster waiting to happen. Now let's meet the mastermind behind this data grab, the individual entrusted with the keys to the kingdom. Enter Gavin Kliger, a software engineer plucked from the depths of Silicon Valley, presumably for his uncanny ability to write code while simultaneously juggling chainsaws. Mr. Kliger, we are told, is a brilliant mind, a visionary in the field of, well, we're not entirely sure what he's a visionary of, but he's got senior advisor on his business card, so he must be important. Kliger, armed with top-secret security clearance and a confidentiality agreement that's about as reassuring as a screen door on a submarine, is set to be granted access to the IRS database imminently. And by imminently, they mean for at least 120 days, which in government time is roughly equivalent to 7 presidential administrations and a couple of ice ages. But fear not, dear citizens. We are assured that Mr. Kliger is a stand-up guy, a regular Boy Scout, who would never even dream of misusing your sensitive information. After all, he signed a piece of paper promising not to. And we all know how seriously those are taken. Just ask any teenager who's ever promised their parents they wouldn't look at their phone after bedtime. So, there you have it. A software engineer with a penchant for secrecy and a questionable track record when it comes to government transparency is about to be handed the keys to the kingdom. What could possibly go wrong? Let's talk about the crown jewels of this whole operation, the Integrated Data Retrieval System, or IDRS, as it's known in the biz. This, my friends, is not your run-of-the-mill Excel spreadsheet. This is a digital Fort Knox, housing the financial hopes, dreams, and let's face it, occasional nightmares of millions of Americans. We're talking social security numbers, bank details, addresses, the whole 9 yards. It's the kind of information that makes identity thieves drool and privacy advocates spontaneously combust. This is the digital equivalent of handing a stranger your wallet, your birth certificate, and the key to your house, and saying, "Don't worry, I'm sure you're a good judge of character." Now to be fair, the IRS doesn't just hand out access to this treasure trove willy-nilly. They have strict protocols in place, layers upon layers of security designed to keep prying eyes at bay. But let's be real, folks. We're talking about the government here. The same government that can't seem to keep track of its staplers or figure out how to send an email without accidentally CCCing the entire internet. So, while the IRS might have the best intentions, the reality is that no system is foolproof. And when it comes to something as sensitive as taxpayer data, even the smallest crack can have devastating consequences. As you might imagine, not everyone is thrilled about this whole DOGE IRS data sharing extravaganza. In fact, some folks, and by some folks we mean Senators Ron Wyden and Elizabeth Warren, have been raising quite a stink about it. These brave souls, armed with common sense and a healthy dose of skepticism, have been peppering the IRS with questions, demanding to know exactly what kind of access DOGE will have and what safeguards are in place to prevent abuse. They've even gone so far as to point out that allowing political appointees access to this kind of data is a recipe for disaster, a sentiment that is about as controversial as saying water is wet. And let's not forget about the potential legal ramifications here. We're talking potential violations of federal privacy laws, lawsuits that could bankrupt a small country, and enough legal paperwork to build a bridge to the moon. But hey, let's say, for argument's sake, that Mr. Klegger throws caution to the wind and decides to use his newfound access for nefarious purposes. What kind of punishment are we talking about here? Well, aside from the aforementioned legal nightmare, he could face termination, fines, and even imprisonment. In fact, just last year a contractor who leaked taxpayer information was sentenced to 5 years in prison. So, the next time you're filling out your tax return and you start to feel a chill down your spine, just remember, somewhere out there, Gavin Klegger is watching. Or maybe he's not. Maybe he's just a really good guy who wants to make the government more efficient. But hey, it's your data, folks. You decide how much risk you're willing to take.